Picture this: the world you grew up in, the one where American dominance was just assumed, where the dollar ruled everything, where Western institutions set the rules for everyone else. That world is quietly falling apart. And if your investment strategy was built for that old world, you could be walking straight into financial disaster. Today, we are talking about where smart money is actually going as the global order shifts beneath our feet. Stay with me because by the end of this video, you will have a completely different way of thinking about your portfolio. Let me start with something uncomfortable. Most retail investors are still thinking in 2005 terms: heavy US equity exposure, dollar denominated assets, tech stocks. And look, that has worked brilliantly for years. But here is the thing about paradigm shifts: they are invisible until suddenly they are not. Ray Dalio has been talking about this for years. Empires rise and fall in long cycles, typically around 250 years. Debt accumulates, inequality grows, internal conflict rises, external challengers emerge. Sound familiar? We're not at the end of American power, but we are almost certainly past the peak of unchallenged American dominance. So, what does that actually mean for your money? First, let us talk about commodities. When empires transition, hard assets historically perform exceptionally well. We are talking about gold, silver, copper, energy resources. The reason is straightforward. During periods of geopolitical realignment, currencies lose credibility, supply chains fragment, and the physical stuff of the world becomes intensely valuable. Gold has already been breaking records, and central banks globally, particularly in the global south, have been accumulating it aggressively. That is not noise. That is a signal. Copper specifically deserves your attention. Every electric vehicle, every solar panel, every piece of modern grid infrastructure requires enormous amounts of it. As the world simultaneously decarbonizes and fragments into competing economic blocks, copper demand is structurally set to explode while new supply takes a decade to develop. The gap there is a genuine investment thesis. Second, think about geographic diversification in a way most Western investors completely ignore. India is fascinating right now. It has a young population, a growing middle class, improving infrastructure, and crucially, it is positioning itself as a neutral player in the new multipolar world. It is not picking sides the way it might have been pressured to in a unipolar order. Companies serving Indian domestic consumption could offer extraordinary long-term growth. Southeast Asia more broadly is worth watching. Vietnam, Indonesia, the Philippines. These are countries absorbing manufacturing that used to sit in China as supply chains get restructured. The friendshoring trend is real, and it is creating genuine economic winners. Third, and this one surprises people, defense and security technologies are no longer ethically ambiguous additions to a portfolio. They are practically essential ones. We live in a world where military spending across Europe, Japan, South Korea, and many other nations is rising sharply after decades of decline. The geopolitical environment demands it. Cybersecurity, satellite communications, autonomous systems. The companies building these things are going to see sustained government investment for years. Now, here's the psychological trap you need to avoid. When people hear about shifting world orders, they panic and go to cash. That is almost always wrong. Cash sitting in a single currency is itself a bet that currency maintains purchasing power. During historical transitions, inflation and currency debasement are common features. Being entirely in cash feels safe, but it might be the riskiest position of all. What you actually want is diversification across asset classes, currencies, and geographies in a way that acknowledges uncertainty rather than pretending you can predict exactly how this plays out. Bitcoin and digital assets deserve a brief mention here. Whatever your feelings about crypto, there is a genuine argument that in a world where trust in institutions is declining and where multiple countries are exploring alternatives to dollar settlement, a decentralized store of value has a structural role to play. Size your position with that speculative nature in mind, but do not dismiss it entirely. The most important mental shift you can make is this: stop thinking about your portfolio as a prediction of what will happen and start thinking about it as a preparation for multiple possible futures. The world might muddle through, America might reassert dominance, or we might genuinely be in a multi-decade transition. Positioning yourself to survive and thrive across those different scenarios is what sophisticated investing looks like right now. The investors who will look back at this decade feeling smart are the ones who acknowledged the uncertainty early, diversified thoughtfully, and resisted the comfort of just doing what worked before. If this video gave you a new angle on your thinking, subscribe and hit the notification bell because we are going to keep digging into exactly these kinds of macro investment questions. The world is changing fast, and your financial education should be changing with it.